Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the TDL Forum June 21st edition. But hope everyone's having a good summer. I'm Laura Waugh, the marketing coordinator with Texas Digital Library, and I'm joined here today by Christy Park, our executive director, and Ryan Steens, our assistant director, and also Courtney Muma, our services manager. And just to get us started today on the agenda, we are also joined by Sean Buckner at Texas A&M University, and he'll be talking about how they have been looking at preservation services with the Digital Preservation Network. So thank you in advance, Sean. And then we'll have some information about a new digital preservation email list and a recent Dataverse community meeting, just a couple of other little updates on post TCDL, the DSpace Education Working Group, and some Fedora stuff and general staffing updates. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Courtney Muma, our services manager, to give a little intro on this.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everybody. I'm just here to give you a quick reminder about what the Digital Preservation Network is before Sean gets started and telling us about how they're using it there at Texas A&M or getting ready to use it, as it were. So a quick reminder before I get into the content on the slide here that Digital Preservation Network membership is part of your regular and affiliate digital preservation memberships with Texas Digital Library. That's significant because that's different from a lot of folks who are members of DEEPIN outside of Texas. So you don't have to become a member of DEEPIN individually. You can join via our membership and then get all the benefits that I'll talk about here. So DEEPIN here in Texas is it's non-commercial preservation storage network. It's distributed across multiple memory institutions, different technologies, and geographic regions. So it's fulfilling a lot of our digital preservation storage needs to get that ultimate level of digital preservation. Any three of the nodes, which are HathiTrust, AP Trust, the University of California in San Diego, Stanford, and then we are also a node here in Texas as the Texas Preservation Node, or TPIN. So any three of those nodes is where your content is distributed. This is active preservation with intermittent auditing over time. It offers stewardship succession, so if for any reason an institution is no longer able to be the steward of the particular content that they've put in DEEPIN, then DEEPIN will continue to maintain it for the term of the contract. And right now that term is 20 years. So everything is upfront. As soon as you get started, whatever you put in gets 20 years from that time. And then at 20 years, you look at it again and basically probably get another 20 years or more, depending on the model at that time. There's a really active DEEPIN membership community, and they are professionally aligned with memory institutions like ours because they are made up of memory institutions like ours. And finally, all of the TDL members using DEEPIN are going to upload from the DuraCloud dashboard, so that simplifies the upload process into the Digital Preservation Network. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Sean Buckner, who can tell us a little bit about their plans at Texas A&M for using DEEPIN.
All right, thank you, Courtney. I assume everyone can hear me. I'm always afraid they can't hear me. But, anyway, my name is Sean Buckner, and I'm the Digital Preservation Librarian at Texas A&M University in College Station. Let me go ahead and click to my presentation there. So, first little caveat, I just learned yesterday from HR that they prefer we didn't put TAMU libraries. so my apologies. The university libraries, Texas A&M University libraries, should have put on the slide. But anyway, as I'm sure this presentation will be preserved for generations to come, my apologies to future A&M attendees. Downside of preservation, right? Anyway, as far as DEEPIN, the Digital Preservation Network, This is just a brief presentation, a sort of case study on how we at the university libraries are incorporating the DeepIn service into our infrastructure and our policy. Basically just how we're approaching our use of the service. I'll touch on each of these bullet points in the slide, just briefly and kind of generally. But first I'll explain just quickly both our DeepIn and our TDL memberships, and how DeepIn fits into our digital preservation infrastructure, and likewise within our preservation policies. And also discuss briefly some of the considerations we may factor into our decisions about where to deposit our data, whether it be DeepIn or another service. And lastly, where we currently stand implementing DeepIn into the aforementioned infrastructure and policies. Again, quickly, A&M University Libraries is a charter member of DeepIn, having contributed to testing and joined fairly early in the process. As such, as part of our yearly membership fee, we have a 5 terabyte allocation, meaning up to 5 terabytes per year, and that's contracted, as Courtney said, for a 20-year term. And we choose to interface with, as members of TDL, interface with and upload the data to DeepIn via TDL dashboard, the DuraCloud dashboard as mentioned before. Also, A&M is, as far as TDL, A&M is a regular sustaining member of TDL, and as such, we receive a monetary allocation each year to put towards storage and or data transfer costs with Amazon Web Services or with the TAC. And of course, that's all via the DuraCloud at TDL web interface that we're able to do that, upload that data or sync to that space. So this slide a little bit wonky there, but those arrows are supposed to line up. But as for the digital preservation systems we use, which I'll call our technical infrastructure, each of the lines on the slide represent a digital preservation tier. So the top line with DeepIn being tier 1 or the top tier, and the second line being tier 2, which deposits into Glacier. Third line being, of course, tier 3, which is basically just keeping local copies backed up, multiple copies, but just locally. And I want to clarify that although I only put Archimatica on the first line, I didn't mean to imply that Archimatica isn't used for the other tiers, just that the content is routed to Archimatica into those 3 distinct pipelines, per se, that correspond with the 3 tiers. So what are the tiers, you might ask? Just quickly, tier 1 would be for us content that is unique to Texas A&M and has a high institutional value. Things such as dissertations and yearbooks, many of our special collections that we've digitized, our 125 plus year run of our battalion, which is the student newspaper, things like that, etc., etc. Examples of tier 2 might be more project-based collections that we may have digitized for or acquired from other departments on campus, which may actually be paying for the storage to us. So an example, right now we're digitizing the American Association of Bovine Practitioners, their conference proceedings. It's an interesting read, of course, but that's of import to the College of Veterinary Science, and they've asked us to digitize it and to preserve it. So these are items you might consider tier 2. And lastly, the digital items of value that we want to keep, but which might not require preservation per se, would be at tier 3, such as our government documents digitization initiative, where we likely are not the only ones that have that content, but we invested the time and money to digitize it, so we want to keep it. Again, that would be locally. So anyway, that's kind of our setup there. So as far as policy, digital preservation policy, of course we strive to follow standards and best practices to the best of our ability, and are certain that of the service options available to us, DeepIn most closely aligns us with the standards, such as TDR checklist, those familiar with the TDR checklist. DEEPIN's replication model, its geographically dispersed nodes, the auditing and repair services, even the pricing model to some extent, among other things, make it what we consider a premier preservation repository. Now I do have to fall on my sword a little bit here and confess, or maybe lament, that we still don't have an official approved digital preservation policy at the university libraries. We have a draft policy framework, and I'm working to develop and document our plans and procedures, as well as some of our definitions and descriptions of the program. So in large part, that's my fault, but I know many of the challenges that I faced in formalizing our policies are shared by other institutions, so I'm not alone, I'm sure, in that. However, the lack of definitive document does present a challenge when it comes to defining and distinguishing the three digital preservation tiers I mentioned before. How do we decide if a project or collection is tier 1 or 2 or even 3? And likewise, how do we decide whether to preserve those files in DEEPIN or another service such as Glacier? Sometimes it's clear, but quite often those decisions kind of depend on other considerations. And as I mentioned earlier, what service options are available and the sustainability of each is one of those considerations. Again, what the content is, what does the collection or project actually contain, what tier do we assign to it. So, but also things such as, have we used our free, I'll call it free allocation for one service, and then we have space in another, or simply how much will it cost? Now as a lump sum, or meted out on a yearly basis, such as with Glacier. Also, size can be a consideration, and I'm not simply talking about the size of the files of the ingest itself, but rather the size of the project or the collection. So how much are we getting over X period of time for this collection, which we keep together in one of those repositories. And lastly, even formats. This is important not because formats are necessarily treated differently in a dark archive, but for preservation planning, you have to consider format migration and other possible updates to data packages. And to be honest, it's a little bit of an unknown for me in some ways. It's kind of easy to update or re-ingest data or metadata on local copies with local systems, but exactly how that's done with DEEPIN or even Glacier, I'm a little bit unsure of right now. I'm just saying. So if anyone out there wants to provide me with some information and or a little clarification, I would appreciate it. But lastly, just to tie up here, the kind of implementation where we are. Finally, we continue to work at implementing those plans and procedures. We're behind. I think that's normal. Everyone says they're behind where they want to be. There's a lot of content I'd love to move into DEEPIN right now. Important tier 1 type stuff. But it seems as a team, I mentioned our team being our digital initiatives, our metadata cataloging, project manager, etc. As a team, we're often challenged by technological problems and delays in advancing the projects, and sometimes just normal hiccups and workflows. Typical stuff, but still challenging and causing delays of sorts. Of course, there's always the ever-looming need to refine and redefine the documentation, and of course the maintenance of our systems, workflows, documentation, etc. Anyway, my intent was just briefly to give you an idea of where we are with DEEPIN, how we're aligned with it, how we're approaching our use of DEEPIN, what factors and considerations exist when deciding on DEEPIN for us as opposed to other services. And you're free to email me or contact me. I didn't put my email here, but it's sbuckner@tamu.edu if anyone wants to reach out and have any questions or suggestions or just want to chat digital preservation stuff. But anyway, that's all I had to share with about our DEEPIN experience so far. Right back over to Laura or Courtney.
Thank you so much, Sean. This is great information, and thanks for also sharing your email. We'll make that available as well. And I'm going to hand it over to Courtney now to talk a little more about digital preservation.
Thank you very much, Laura, and thanks, Sean. That was really great and really informative. Um, so I just have a couple of updates for y'all. One has to do with digital preservation services. One thing I've done recently is I've added a TDL digital preservation email list, which I would love for y'all to join. So it's TDL-digipres at utlist.utexas.edu. When you opt in, it's great because you'll get updates about all of our digital preservation services work. Any resources that I share, probably before I put them on the website, they'll go to this list. I have stuff ready to go now, but I want to wait until I get some more people signed up for the list so that I can share it out with everybody. And then you can also share your own resources there and any digital preservation news that you might have at your institution that you want to share with everybody in Texas. You can use it to find partners for digital preservation grants or projects in Texas. You can use it to ask and answer digital preservation questions, specifically among your Texas peers. Sometimes it's more comfortable to talk with folks within a region and not necessarily use those national lists or lists that are available for particular projects. And also, again, showcase your own local digital preservation projects and get the news out there. Other good places for this exist, but this is just a place for specific to digital preservation services at TDL and any ways that we can help y'all and support you in doing your digital preservation work. So please join, and I'll probably send my first message out late next week after I send a message out to the main TDL list with this information so everyone knows this list exists and then can join. And then my other update for y'all is that last week, as part of my job where I'm the digital Texas Data Repository Manager, I went to the Dataverse community meeting. This was my first Dataverse community meeting. It was at Cambridge and at Harvard. It was a really great meeting for me, and I've brought back a lot of information that I can share with the TDR steering committee, but I wanted to share with the whole TDL forum here today just a few things. I learned a lot about the way that Harvard is developing Dataverse and their plans for Dataverse over the next 6 months or so. I've learned how they're prioritizing their issues and how to contribute issues, especially things like user interface improvement requests and then code or any bugs that we find. I got to meet the whole Harvard IQSS team in person. That's the team that does the Harvard Dataverse development. And their team has grown quite a bit, and they've got people dedicated to a lot of things like user interface that they didn't have before. So that was really great to meet them in person. I get to talk with them pretty frequently on the Dataverse community calls every week, but this was really just nice. It always changes things when you get to meet somebody in person. I met some partners for potential future work and improvements to the TDR as well. There are several places around the world now that have similar repository setups as the one that we set up using Dataverse for the TDR. And so I've found some potential people who we could probably partner with to change things in the greater Harvard Dataverse system that is open source with regards to digital preservation capabilities, bigger data capabilities, integration work, and user statistics tracking and reporting, which I've been hearing a lot from our users is something that they want to improve upon. Finally, if you want to see some really detailed, I'm telling you, over 20 pages of notes, including pictures, and not only my notes, but also notes from other people at the meeting, you can go to this link here, and all of the notes from the meeting are open. I created a bit.ly link, so it's bit.ly/2s capital L 8 little a 6 little k. And I think I'll copy that over into the chat also so y'all can get it after I'm done talking here. So that's it for me. I'm going to hand back off to Laura. Thanks, y'all.
Hey, thank you so much, Courtney and Sean. This is a great bit of information and updates, and thank you both so much. There's a couple of little things, but just a little post-conference update from our Texas Conference on Digital Libraries. Thank you so much to everyone that came. For all of you that weren't able to attend, we do have the proceedings now online, so you can at least sort of feel like you were there. There's also some pictures on Facebook, so yes, it was great. We had a lot of representation this year, 164 attendees from Arkansas, England, India, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Zealand, and Texas. So very representative. There were a lot of great proposals, and thank you again to everyone. Also, just a huge thank you to our planning committee this year, especially our chair, Ramona Holmes at UT Arlington, and Vice Chair Eric Ames from Baylor, who will be the chair this year. So spoiler alert, but yeah, he will be the chair, obviously. But also Clark Iakovakis and Jeremy Moore, Kara Long and Bethany Scott. Tremendous job this year, so thank you so much. And also a note that the Texas Digital Library DSpace Education Working Group recently released their Training Needs Survey final report. And this was the culmination of a lot of people in a survey that began actually back in the 2016 TCDL. So it's a very interesting report, and it will help us move forward with our DSpace training, looking ahead. So thank you so much also to everyone who contributed to that. And there's a link here for more information. And also a reminder, registration is open for the 2017 Fedora Camp Texas, as it is being termed. It'll be hosted here at the Perry Castaneda Library at UT Libraries in Austin. If you do want to register, there's an early bird rate if you do so before August 14th. And as a TDL member, you can select the member rate when you're checking out. So it'll be an amazing event, October 16th through 18th. So hope to see lots of our TDL members there. And also a save the date, the South Central States Fedora Users Group. They will be meeting at Texas A&M University in College Station, August 23rd through the 24th. So go ahead, block off your calendars. Be prepared. There's an agenda and more information coming. But we also really wanted to thank James Creel and the folks at Texas A&M for sponsoring this and helping us, keep this group going and being our hosts in August for this, what will inevitably be a tremendous meeting. So be sure to save the date. And next we have a staffing announcement. I'm going to hand it over to Christy Park.
Thanks, Laura. So we just want to let everybody know that we are welcoming and really excited to welcome a new staff member, Leah DeForest, who will be joining us next week as our new communications coordinator. She's going to be joining Laura on the marketing communication side of the organization to help us get our story out and recruit new members and do just general communications work for the organization. Leah comes to us with a lot of great experience as a fundraising and communications coordinator for Literacy First, which is run out of the Dana Center at UT Austin, and is also currently getting her MLIS degree at the iSchool here at UT Austin. So she's got a lot of great, relevant experience and background that she's going to bring to this position, and she's really enthusiastic and excited about getting started with us and making sure that everybody knows about the great work that TDL and its members are doing. She will start next Friday, June 30th. And so at the next TDL Forum, you'll all have a chance to meet her, at least virtually, and hope you'll get a chance to meet her in person very soon.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we're very excited to have Leah join us. And as we're kind of winding down here, and as you're thinking about those questions that you probably have, hopefully, but just also a reminder, the TDL Community Google Group is going strong. If you have not already signed up, there's a link here and also on tdl.org website. But if you have questions or announcements, is your library hiring, or do you need to figure out where to put affiliations in your metadata? You can put all of that on the TDL Community Google Group and get some great responses. So, hope it's a good, useful tool for everyone. And then just a reminder that, as always, our TDL Forum, the next one will be the third Wednesday in July 19th at 10:30. And if you ever have ideas or stories or things you want to learn more about, feel free to contact us and bring up any ideas you might have. So, also, what questions do you maybe have for us, or anything for questions and discussion? Well, while you're finishing thinking about any questions, also just a reminder that today's forum and of course the other forums, the slides will be made available in the repository, and we will make the recordings available. So I guess if there are no questions, we can go ahead and end it early and give you back 3 minutes of your day. But thank you all so much, and we hope you're having a wonderful summer and staying cool out there. So, thanks, everyone. All right, bye-bye.